The day you stop chasing is the day the universe starts responding. Carl Jung's hidden energy law. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." In life, the harder we chase after love, success, or happiness, the more elusive they often become. But something shifts when we stop running and start allowing. Suddenly, the universe begins to respond in ways we never imagined. In today's video on spiritual wisdom, we'll uncover the hidden energy law that reveals why surrendering is the key to true manifestation. Have you ever experienced a moment where things finally flowed once you let go? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's explore together how releasing the chase can open the doors to growth, joy, and fulfillment. 1. Chasing is an energy of lack. When you are caught in the act of chasing love, success, or validation, you unknowingly radiate the energy of lack, a vibration that says, "I don't have, I am not enough." This frequency is not hidden from the universe. It is written into the fabric of your energy field. And no matter how many words you use to mask it, energy always speaks louder than appearances. Carl Jung once remarked, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Chasing is precisely that unconscious program. It directs your life without your awareness, pushing away the very things you long to receive. Have you noticed how the more you wait for someone's message, the longer the silence stretches? Or how the harder you try to prove your worth, the more invisible you seem? This is not because you are unworthy, nor is it because life is cruel. It is because the universe mirrors your frequency, not your intentions. When your vibration carries fear, lack, and desperation, reality reflects back more experiences of emptiness. Chasing is nothing more than fear in disguise. Fear that without validation, without achievement, without recognition, you are incomplete. And this fear becomes the loudest signal you send out into the world. The intelligence of spiritual wisdom teaches us that the key is not to abandon desire, but to transform the energy beneath it. To stop chasing means to shift from a frequency of need into a frequency of sufficiency. When you embody wholeness, when you live from the truth that you already are enough, your vibration changes. The universe, attuned to frequency, begins to respond differently. Love, opportunities, and recognition flow toward you not because you demanded them, but because your energy field has become a natural match to abundance. Jung understood this deeply when he said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." To stop chasing is to awaken. To stop searching for completion outside and realize it has always been within. In daily life, this wisdom means releasing anxious striving and trusting in alignment. Instead of running after every chance, you allow opportunities that harmonize with your essence to find you. Instead of clinging to people's attention, you cultivate inner respect, and those who truly recognize your light are drawn naturally. Instead of obsessing over outcomes, you rest in faith, knowing that what belongs to you will never miss you. This is not passivity. It is intelligent living. It requires trust in the unseen, awareness of your own patterns, and the courage to embody the wholeness you already possess. The law is simple yet profound. The day you stop chasing is the day the universe starts responding. When you release the vibration of lack and step into the vibration of sufficiency, the flow of abundance becomes inevitable. As Gandhi said, "The moment the slave resolves that he will no longer be a slave, his chains fall." In the same way, the moment you decide you will no longer chase, the chains of lack dissolve, and reality reshapes itself around your completeness. This is the hidden energy law Carl Jung pointed to, and it is one of the most powerful truths of spiritual awakening. You do not manifest by running after life. You manifest by aligning with the energy of already being. Have you ever noticed how chasing after something only makes it slip further away? Share your own experience in the comments so others can learn from you. And if you haven't reflected on this energy of lack before, simply comment, "I choose alignment," to begin shifting your vibration today. 2. Consciousness is a living magnetic field. Consciousness is not a lifeless idea, but a living magnetic field, constantly transmitting signals that shape your destiny. Carl Jung explained that both the conscious and the unconscious mind generate energy that merges into a single field, and this field never lies. No matter how carefully you choose your words, people sense your vibration far more deeply, whether it is fear, insecurity, or confidence, and this perception influences how they respond to you. In truth, your inner world is always mirrored in your outer experiences, making your energy more honest than your language and more powerful than your appearance. You may try to smile, act composed, or pretend that everything is fine. Yet if within you resides fear or self-doubt, others can feel it without a word being spoken. This is why Jung's wisdom matters so much in modern life. Think of the uneasiness you feel around someone who is anxious even before they speak, or the calm relief that settles over a room when a grounded person enters. These are not coincidences. They are evidence of the invisible field of consciousness at work, proof that people instinctively read your energy before your sentences ever reach their ears. What you cultivate inside becomes a mirror that the universe holds up to you. Doubt and scarcity invite experiences of missed chances and closed doors, while faith, clarity, and resilience attract opportunities aligned with your growth. As the timeless scripture reminds us, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This truth is echoed in the subtle dialogue between your inner vibration and the reality it summons. In the rush of today's world, appearances may dominate through social media filters and polished words, but no filter can disguise the true frequency of your being. A message posted from comparison or envy falls flat, but words born from authenticity, confidence, and spiritual wisdom carry a resonance that cannot be ignored. Spiritual awakening, therefore, is not a single grand revelation, but the daily practice of aligning your inner frequency with the life you wish to live. It calls you to ask yourself honestly, what energy am I radiating right now? And to recognize that this answer will shape what the world reflects back to you. If you long for love, you must first embody love. If you seek respect, you must cultivate respect within your own being. If you desire abundance, you must shift your inner dialogue from lack to sufficiency. Life does not echo back what you chase in desperation. It returns what you already are in essence. This is why Jung's teaching remains timeless. The magnetic field of consciousness does not bend to pretend it responds only to truth. To live in harmony with this law is to stop chasing, to release the vibration of need, and to root yourself in wholeness. When you no longer send out signals of emptiness, the universe responds with fullness. When you stop grasping for what you think you lack, you create space for life to meet you with grace. Your energy is always speaking, always declaring what you believe about yourself, and always shaping the reality you walk into. Choose wisely what you carry within, because it is already writing the story the universe will reflect back to you. 3. The shadow and projection. When longing is born from a wounded ego, it awakens what Carl Jung called the shadow, the hidden fragments of yourself that you have denied, suppressed, or buried in silence. These shadows are often the result of past wounds, such as rejection, loneliness, or feelings of worthlessness, and when left unresolved, they silently influence how you move through life. When you chase after love, recognition, or success from a place of fear, you unknowingly project these wounds onto others. It is not truly the person, the job, or the opportunity that you are running after. It is the hope that their presence or approval will mend the aching fractures within you. Yet in doing so, you send out an energy of lack, and that energy becomes a magnet for disappointment. The world, as Jung reminded us, is less an objective reality and more a mirror of your unconscious self, reflecting not what you consciously desire, but what you unconsciously still carry. This is why spirituality and spiritual development cannot be about chasing or pretending, but about becoming and healing. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. If your unconscious is filled with suppressed pain, every effort to grasp at happiness will be colored by that pain. You may find yourself repeating the same cycles, loving people who do not love you back, working tirelessly only to feel unseen, or watching opportunities slip away just when you thought you had them. These are not random cruelties of life. They are reflections of the inner scripts you have not yet rewritten. Projection ensures that the wounds you resist will always reappear before you until you face them. To walk the path of true spiritual awakening, you must learn to see these reflections as invitations. Instead of blaming the outside world, turn inward and notice the feelings that rise when you are ignored, the fears that surface when you feel unworthy, and the patterns that repeat when you try to prove yourself. By embracing the shadow with compassion rather than denial, you begin to reclaim your energy. Healing does not mean faking positivity or pretending the wounds never existed. It means gently transforming them into sources of wisdom and strength. With each moment of awareness, you soften the grip of the shadow and shift the vibration you project into the world. When your energy no longer whispers, "I am not enough," the universe stops sending you proof of your lack and begins to align with your wholeness. Instead of chasing validation, you radiate authenticity. Instead of projecting pain, you project peace. Life, in turn, mirrors this new vibration back to you, not by accident, but by law. And this is where spirituality shows its true power. Your inner transformation shapes your outer reality. The lesson is clear. Chasing from fear will always keep what you seek out of reach, but healing within allows life to flow toward you effortlessly. By honoring your shadow and integrating it into the light of awareness, you step into a state of balance where you no longer need to pursue, because what is meant for you will naturally find its way. This is the silent but profound truth of spiritual development, and it is the wisdom Jung left us with. The universe responds not to your desperate reaching, but to the calm strength of your healed and awakened self. Comment below. I choose to face my shadow. If you are ready to stop projecting, embrace self-awareness, and allow the universe to truly respond to your inner light. 4. You attract who you are, not what you want. You do not attract what you want. You attract who you are. When your energy is built on fear, desperation, or neediness, it vibrates at a frequency that life must echo back to you. And instead of love, success, or peace, you meet indifference, failure, and disappointment. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That truth is alive in the way your hidden energy patterns silently script your relationships, your opportunities, and even your sense of self. Have you noticed that the harder you chase a reply, the quieter the silence becomes? The more you long to be seen, the more invisible you feel. It is not punishment, nor proof that you are unworthy. It is an energy law at work. Your body is broadcasting, "I lack, I need," and the universe, like a mirror, responds accordingly. The shift begins when you stop chasing and start choosing presence. Healing is not about controlling outcomes. It is about shifting from ego-driven control to soul-centered awareness. Your ego fears uncertainty, so it clings, pushes, and performs. But your soul already knows that worthiness is not earned, it is remembered. Intelligence is not only the sharpness of the mind, it is also the inner intelligence of being able to sit with your feelings without rushing to fix or hide them. When you allow yourself to breathe into your fear, to notice the story that whispers, "I am not enough," you loosen the grip of unconscious patterns, and your energy softens into truth. As Rumi beautifully wrote, "What you seek is seeking you, but only when your signal is steady enough to be received." This is where spiritual wisdom meets psychology. Jung taught that we project what we repress, and chasing often reveals the parts of ourselves we have abandoned. When you run after external validation, you are really searching for the fragments of self-love you left behind. Integration means bringing those parts home, accepting them as yours, and standing in your own completeness. From there, you no longer chase relationships, you create connections. You no longer beg for opportunity, you embody readiness. You no longer plead for peace, you practice it daily. Life changes when your vibration changes. A calm nervous system is magnetic. A grateful heart draws more to be grateful for. A person who knows their value no longer sends out frantic signals of lack. Presence, not pursuit, creates attraction. By embodying love, steadiness, and self-respect, you give reality something true to respond to. Chasing says, "I need this to be whole," while presence says, "I am whole, and from that wholeness, I create." That is the hidden energy law Carl Jung pointed toward. The day you stop chasing is the day the universe starts responding. If you're ready to embody this truth, repeat after me. I attract who I am, not what I chase. I align with my highest self, and the universe responds to my being. 5. Example of Carla. Carla's life looked like progress from the outside. She read books, practiced self-reflection, and searched deeply within. But beneath all of that effort, her energy was still quietly reaching outward, waiting for someone to confirm her worth. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And this truth was alive in her story. Despite her self-work, her unconscious vibration still carried the frequency of lack, whispering that she was incomplete unless rescued by another. That hidden energy shaped her reality in ways she could not control, leading to repeated heartbreak and relationships that collapsed, not because she was unworthy, but because energy never lies. When you live in the vibration of lack, you call more lack into your life, no matter how carefully you try to hide it with words, smiles, or appearances. The turning point came when Carla stopped waiting for someone else to save her and chose herself fully. Spirituality is not about being rescued, but about reclaiming your wholeness. And her spiritual awakening began the moment she realized that love is not something to chase, but something to radiate. When she shifted her inner voice from "I need" to "I am," her energy field transformed, and so did the world around her. She no longer entered conversations with silent desperation or shaped her identity around whether others noticed her. She became centered, whole, and present. Paradoxically, this is when life began to respond. Without her trying, people sensed her shift. They felt her calm strength, her independence, her completeness, and the universe mirrored it back. Jung reminded us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that is the privilege Carla finally lived into when she embraced herself without conditions. In the reality of modern life, this lesson is more urgent than ever. Think of how often you find yourself waiting for a message that never comes, refreshing your inbox for a promotion that keeps being delayed, or scrolling through social media, hoping for recognition that leaves you emptier than before. Each moment spent chasing carries the energy of lack, and that vibration silently pushes what you desire further away. The pressure of today's world amplifies this cycle, but the law remains unchanged. Chasing creates distance, while wholeness creates attraction. The awakening Carla experienced is not unique. It is available to you whenever you stop outsourcing your value and decide that your worth is intrinsic, unshakable, and already complete. This is not arrogance, but alignment, not selfishness, but self-realization. The truth is simple, yet transformative. When you stop waiting for love to arrive and embody love within yourself, love finds you. When you release the need for validation and stand in your own presence, respect comes naturally. When you choose yourself without apology, the universe chooses you in return. Carla's story is a reminder that spirituality is not about escaping the human experience, but transforming it from within. The day you stop chasing is the day you begin becoming. And when you embody fullness instead of lack, life responds with the very abundance you once believed you had to pursue. 6. Example of Natalia. Natalia's journey reveals a profound truth about healing and spirituality. After walking away from a toxic relationship, she believed she had let go, convincing herself that her mind was free. Yet deep down, anxiety still guided her choices, reminding her that true release had not yet taken place. Her therapist gently pointed out the reality. The mind may let go, but energy lingers until it is transformed. Carl Jung described this phenomenon as the compulsion to repeat, where unhealed wounds and unresolved patterns replay themselves in our lives until we face them fully and integrate their lessons. In Natalia's case, her energy continued to carry the vibration of lack, and the universe, always responding to energy before words, mirrored that state back to her. This is where spiritual development becomes essential. because it teaches us that true healing does not end with intellectual understanding. It requires the alignment of thoughts, emotions, and energy. You may notice the same pattern in your life. When chasing love, success, or peace only seems to push it further away. Jung's wisdom helps us understand why. The act of chasing is born from a sense of emptiness, and emptiness only attracts more of itself. Natalia's lingering anxiety was not a flaw, but a signal pointing her toward a deeper layer of awakening. She was being asked to step into a higher level of spirituality, one where pretending to be healed is no longer enough, and where the unspoken energy of I am not enough must be acknowledged and transformed. This is why spiritual awakening is not about masking your wounds, but listening to the vibrations beneath them, turning the unconscious into the conscious so that it no longer governs your destiny without your awareness. Jung himself reminded us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Think of how many times life has brought you back to the same relationship patterns, the same disappointments, or the same inner battles, even when you thought you had changed. These repetitions are not punishments, but invitations, guiding you to recognize what within you still calls for healing. Natalia's turning point arrived not when she suppressed her anxiety, but when she listened to it with compassion and curiosity. This is the essence of spiritual development, choosing to meet your inner signals with awareness rather than resistance, choosing to grow rather than repeat. When you stop running from your pain and instead integrate it into your understanding, you stop feeding the cycle of repetition. You begin to act from a place of wholeness rather than woundedness, and in that shift, life itself changes course. The lesson is timeless. Healing is not only about the absence of pain, but the presence of inner harmony. Spirituality teaches us that the universe responds not to the words we speak, but to the energy we embody. When you declare with your entire being that you are complete and worthy, the universe answers with relationships, opportunities, and peace that match that truth. Natalia's story reminds us that freedom comes not from cutting off the past, but from embracing it so deeply that it no longer defines us. And so the invitation for you is clear. Stop chasing what you think is missing. Start aligning with the energy of sufficiency within, and allow the universe to finally respond to the wholeness you have always carried inside. Don't forget to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more inspiring stories like Natalia's, and discover how the universe responds when you stop chasing and start aligning with your true energy. 7. Control versus surrender. Control is nothing more than fear disguised as strength, a defense born of an ego that is not yet healed. When you try to control every detail of your life, every relationship, and every outcome, you are not standing in true power. You are standing in anxiety. The ego whispers that without control, you will lose. And in that moment, you are no longer moving with the flow of the universe, but against it. Carl Jung reminded us that what remains unconscious will rule your life, and you will call it fate. This is why control leads you to repeat the same cycles of disappointment, because behind the desire to hold on tightly lies the deeper vibration of fear. The fear of not being enough, the fear of being abandoned, and the fear of losing identity. True surrender is not weakness, and it is not passivity. It is the courageous act of trust, the release of the need to force or chase outcomes. To surrender does not mean to give up your dreams. It means to release the illusion that you must control how, when, or where they manifest. Think of the seed resting in the soil. It does not chase the sun. It simply grows toward the light because the intelligence of nature has already designed the process. Surrender is choosing to align with that design, to remember that life itself has an intelligence far greater than your conscious mind. Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a hidden field of wisdom that guides and responds the moment you stop resisting and start trusting. When you surrender, you awaken to a higher truth. The universe responds not to your desperate actions, but to your state of being. Jung's spiritual wisdom shows us that by confronting the fear that fuels control, you step out of unconscious repetition and into conscious creation. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is why surrender is not defeat, but liberation. It frees you from old wounds and opens the door to synchronicity, those meaningful coincidences Jung described, where the outer world begins to mirror your inner awakening. You have already felt this in your own life. The more you chase approval, the more it slips away. The harder you cling to control, the more drained you feel. Yet when you step back, breathe, and trust, things often fall into place with surprising ease. This is not an accident. It is energy law. Your energy field, more honest than your words, broadcasts either lack or alignment. When it radiates fear, life mirrors resistance. When it radiates trust, life reorganizes itself in your favor. So look within and ask, where are you still clinging, forcing, or chasing? What would shift if you replaced control with trust? As Lao Tzu once said, "When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be." In the same way, when you let go of control, you step into the hidden intelligence of the universe. Control imprisons you in fear, but surrender releases you into wisdom. And when you finally stop chasing, you discover that the universe has been waiting all along to respond. 8. Presence and vibrational detachment. Presence is the deepest source of power because it asks nothing, chases nothing, and proves nothing, yet it transforms everything. Carl Jung reminded us, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. And when you turn inward, you discover that the fulfillment you seek has always been within. Presence in spirituality is not passive, but alive. It is the art of aligning with life itself. In this state, your energy no longer whispers, "I lack," but instead declares, "I am whole." And the universe begins to mirror that wholeness back to you in countless ways. Vibrational detachment flows from this presence, teaching you to stop betraying yourself for validation or acceptance. Modern life constantly pressures you to please, perform, or wear masks. But detachment is not indifference. It is choosing authenticity over illusion. Jung's spiritual wisdom shows that the more you attach your worth to external approval, the more it slips away. But when you step back from chasing recognition, you reclaim your inner authority and free yourself from the endless cycle of lack. To stand firm in your truth is to tell the world without words, "I will no longer abandon myself." And this silent declaration reshapes the entire field of energy around you. From that place of stillness, authenticity becomes your natural radiance, and authenticity is irresistibly magnetic. In a world full of facades, the vibration of truth shines like a lighthouse in the dark. Your presence speaks before you do, and it draws to you the people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with your essence. As Jung said, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And when you embody this, you create a field of wholeness that cannot be ignored. The more you live aligned with your true self, the less you need to prove anything, and the more life flows toward you effortlessly. Presence, detachment, and authenticity are not signs of withdrawal, but of spiritual awakening and maturity. They remind you that you do not need to chase love, success, or recognition, because what is meant for you cannot miss you. Choosing rest without guilt, saying no to what drains your spirit, and trusting your inner wisdom are practical ways to embody this truth. The day you stop chasing is the day you allow life to respond, not because the outside world suddenly changes, but because your vibration shifts into harmony with your soul. And from that frequency, everything really begins to find its way back to you. And so, the hidden law of energy reminds us that when we stop chasing, we create space for the universe to respond in its own perfect rhythm. The truth is, alignment is more powerful than pursuit, and surrender is the doorway to receiving. If this message has inspired you, I invite you to continue this journey with us. Please like this video, share it with someone who needs this wisdom, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss our upcoming videos, where we explore more of Carl Jung's insights and timeless spiritual truths. Quantum shifting isn't complicated. That's the problem. As Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." Today, I invite you to look within and realize that the shift you've been searching for isn't as complicated as your mind has made it. Quantum shifting happens not when you force, chase, or struggle, but when you finally allow yourself to be still and aligned. Imagine what could change in your life if you stopped complicating what was meant to be simple. Have you ever noticed that the biggest breakthroughs often come in the quietest moments? Share your thoughts in the comments, because your experience might be the key that inspires someone else's awakening. 1. The shift is a subtle moment, not a long struggle. The idea that transformation must be the result of endless effort is one of the greatest illusions of our time. People often imagine that only through years of meditation, countless rituals, or tireless attempts at self-improvement can they access real change. Yet true quantum shifting is far more subtle. It is not earned by struggle, but revealed in an instant, the very moment you stop fighting with life. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." This points to the hidden truth. The instant you stop forcing, doubting, and chasing, the unconscious loses its grip and a door opens that has been there all along. The universe does not respond to desperation. It responds to presence. It is not when you push harder or repeat affirmations with clenched fists that the shift arrives. It comes when your inner world becomes still, when intelligence and spiritual wisdom meet in silence. Albert Einstein once reminded us, "Everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler." Quantum shifting is exactly this kind of simplicity, and that is what confuses the ego most. The ego thrives on complication, insisting that the path must be difficult to be valuable. Yet the truth is that the most powerful transformation is available in the quiet surrender of this very moment. Think about the times you let go in your own life. When you stopped obsessing over love, the right person appeared. When you released fear around money, opportunities surfaced as if out of nowhere. These were not coincidences. They were moments of alignment. Jung observed the same in his clinical practice. Breakthroughs emerged when patients finally released the pressure to control everything. The psyche, freed from the weight of striving, naturally shifted into a higher state. In your own journey, the leap does not wait on perfection, but on surrender. The problem is that the mind resists this simplicity. It whispers, "It cannot be this easy." And in believing that, you miss the doorway. Quantum shifting is not about adding more techniques or seeking hidden secrets. It is about peeling away what is false, noticing that the shift is already here. As Jung reminded us, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Awakening is not a distant destination, but a change of state that happens the moment you stop resisting and start trusting. Comment below. I embrace the subtle shift. If you're ready to experience the power of transformation without the struggle. 2. Simplicity triggers resistance. Simplicity is the very thing the ego cannot stand, because the human mind has been conditioned to believe that value comes only through struggle, sacrifice, and endless effort. Carl Jung reminded us that until the unconscious is made conscious, it will direct our lives, and we will call it fate. And so when life suddenly offers an effortless path, the ego feels attacked, as if its entire identity is crumbling. To the ego, ease is suspicious, too good to be true. And so people unconsciously sabotage the very grace they once prayed for, pushing away the answers they long to receive. In spirituality, this paradox repeats again and again. The doorway is open, the light is near, and yet the ego mistrusts it because it is simple. Quantum shifting does not require years of forcing or endless complicated techniques. It happens in a single moment of surrender, the instant you stop chasing and start allowing. Life is like water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it slips away. But when you relax, it stays. That is why the ego fears simplicity, because its survival depends on convincing you that only through pain and effort will you ever arrive. But the truth is that alignment is what creates transformation, not strain. The universe does not reward your suffering. It responds to your frequency, and simplicity is the frequency of trust. In modern life, this resistance shows up everywhere. People chase job titles, achievements, relationships, and endless healing methods, believing that the harder they try, the closer they will be to fulfillment. Yet often, they only feel emptier. Think of the times you distrusted an opportunity or relationship because it felt too easy, only to later realize it was exactly what you needed. The ego whispers that simplicity is nonsense. But as Jung noted, the pendulum of the mind swings between sense and nonsense, not right and wrong. What seems too simple to the ego may be the highest wisdom to the soul. Simplicity is not laziness, it is alignment. The river does not strain to reach the ocean. It flows naturally because that is its essence, and you do not have to earn your worth through endless resistance. When you stop overcomplicating what is already flowing, you allow spiritual awakening to reveal itself. This is the quiet power that the ego cannot grasp. When you stop fighting reality, reality begins to fight for you. The soul does not thrive on struggle, but on surrender. And in that surrender, doors open quickly that once seemed permanently locked. Simplicity is not the absence of effort, it is the presence of clarity. And when you trust that clarity, the shift happens effortlessly. Leave your like, subscribe to spiritual wisdom, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss insights that awaken your mind. Remember, simplicity is the doorway to your greatest shifts. Type in the comments, "I embrace simplicity and allow abundance into my life." 3. The field responds to clarity and frequency, not effort. The field responds to clarity and frequency, not effort. And this principle shows us that true spirituality and spiritual development are not about how much you push yourself, but about how clean and coherent your inner state is. Many people live believing that breakthroughs only come through endless strategies, complex techniques, and constant hustle. But the truth is that the universe mirrors back the quality of your inner signal, not the quantity of your actions. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are simple, clear, and aligned, life flows naturally, and opportunities arrive without strain. Just as a radio only delivers music when tuned to the right frequency, your reality shifts only when your vibration is free from static. Carl Jung often reminded us that the inner world creates the outer one, and when your unconscious is aligned, the outer reality cannot resist but follow that alignment. You may recall moments when no matter how hard you worked, nothing seemed to move forward. And yet, in other times, when you acted with ease, everything unfolded smoothly. This is not coincidence, but the result of energetic clarity. The ego complicates what is simple, making you believe more effort equals more results. But in spirituality, the reverse often proves true. Simplicity is not weakness, it is strength. When your inner field is uncluttered, you become magnetic to the shifts you seek. Instead of adding more, you allow what is essential to shine. It is like water in a lake. The more you stir it, the more distorted the reflection becomes. But when it is still, the truth of the reflection reveals itself. This lesson invites you to stop forcing and start aligning. Transformation is not born of chaos, but of coherence. You do not need to abandon your goals, but you must learn to approach them from a calm and centered state rather than a frantic and scattered one. Spiritual development asks you to be less of a chaser and more of a receiver, less concerned with proving effort and more focused on radiating clarity. Every time you breathe deeply, release doubt, and return to your center, you broadcast a frequency the field cannot ignore. The shift you desire is not delayed by lack of effort. It is delayed by lack of clarity. Your task each day is to clear your inner space. That may come through meditation, journaling, prayer, or even quiet moments in nature where your thoughts settle. As your energy becomes coherent, you discover that life bends with ease because the field is always listening to your vibration. The signal you send is what returns to you, and that is why simplicity is not only powerful, but essential. By keeping your inner world aligned, you unlock a quantum shift that strategy alone could never deliver. The field does not respond to how much you struggle. It responds to how clearly you shine. 4. Your unconscious broadcast, conscious intention. Your unconscious broadcast will always outweigh your conscious intention because the field reads your embodied frequency, not just the words you speak. It feels what you are, especially when no one is watching. And this is why subconscious scarcity or doubt easily overrides affirmations. You can say, "I am abundant," 1,000 times. But if deep down your energy still vibrates with fear or lack, the universe mirrors that hidden vibration back to you. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this is exactly what happens when your unexamined beliefs quietly rule your reality. The truth is that your unconscious is like a radio tower, constantly broadcasting your real state of being. Every belief, every wound, every hidden fear sends out a signal, and that signal determines what you tune into in life. Your conscious mind may speak intentions and repeat affirmations, but the subconscious never lies, and its signal always overrides the noise of words. Intelligent spiritual wisdom begins with noticing this hidden broadcast and aligning it with the reality you want. Because what you resist truly does persist, and what you embody, you attract. The ego complicates this process because it does not want to surrender. It thrives on struggle, on proving worthiness, on collecting spiritual techniques as if salvation is a checklist. But quantum shifting is not complicated. It happens in an instant, the very moment you stop forcing, stop doubting, stop chasing, and simply allow yourself to harmonize with the frequency of what you desire. The field responds not to effort, but to congruence. If your inner state radiates peace, trust, and abundance, life bends quickly to reflect that back. If your inner state radiates fear, scarcity, and doubt, life will echo that just as faithfully, no matter how polished your affirmations sound. Ask yourself in silence, what is my energy saying when no one is watching? What do I truly believe about myself and my life? These questions matter more than any ritual because they reveal the alignment or misalignment between what you want and what you are. Spiritual awakening is not about piling on complexity, but about stripping away everything false until only your authentic frequency remains. That is intelligence. That is spiritual wisdom. And that is where true power begins. Reality responds not to what you say, but to what you are. If you desire prosperity, embody gratitude and sufficiency now. If you desire love, radiate self-respect and openness now. If you desire freedom, release the chains of doubt now. The quantum shift is not earned through time or effort. It is chosen in a single moment of inner alignment. When your unconscious no longer contradicts your conscious intention, the universe flows effortlessly with you, showing that simplicity has always been the gateway to transformation. If you're ready to align your conscious intention with the power of your unconscious broadcast, comment below. I will meditate to affirm your commitment to this journey of transformation. 5. Self-awareness is the first mastery skill. Self-awareness is the first and most essential mastery because it is the root of all true transformation. And Carl Jung's reminder that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate, reveals why this step cannot be skipped. Spirituality begins not in chasing after complex rituals, but in learning to cultivate a non-judgmental awareness that observes thoughts and emotional reflexes as they arise in real time. This kind of awareness allows you to step outside of the old survival patterns that usually dictate your reactions. The anger that flares when you feel misunderstood, the fear that pushes you to prove yourself, or the sadness that isolates you when life feels overwhelming. By watching instead of reacting, you reclaim the space to choose. And in that space, the process of spiritual awakening begins. The beauty of awareness is that it is disarmingly simple, yet profoundly powerful. When you stop labeling your thoughts as good or bad and simply notice them, they begin to lose their grip on you. The ego feeds on judgment and reaction, but when you just watch, its power fades. Think of how modern life constantly tempts you into automatic responses. The instant irritation while scrolling through social media, the tightening in your chest during a stressful meeting, the rush of comparison when someone else succeeds. Self-awareness lets you catch these reflexes at the very moment they appear, before they spiral into bigger emotions or destructive actions. The Buddha taught that awareness is the greatest agent of change. And in today's world of constant noise and distraction, that wisdom is not just ancient, it is urgent. When you train yourself to notice without judgment, you realize that most of your struggles are not with the world outside, but with the unexamined patterns inside. Spirituality is not about escaping difficulties, but about awakening to how your mind and emotions shape every moment of experience. You may not control what others say or do, but you always have the power to choose how you respond. Awareness shifts you from being the victim of circumstances into becoming the creator of your reality. Picture yourself in a stressful situation. Instead of collapsing into panic, you notice the shallow breath, the racing thought, the fear whispering failure. By noticing, you break the cycle. With a deeper breath, the same energy that would have fueled fear now fuels presence, clarity, and strength. This mastery of awareness tunes you back to the intelligence within, the quiet wisdom that modern life often buries under noise. It is like tuning an instrument. When it is aligned, every note resonates in harmony. In the same way, when your awareness aligns, every decision and action flows from clarity rather than chaos. Jung also said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." And this is the essence of spiritual awakening. Looking inside is not about denying the shadow or pretending away discomfort. It is about witnessing both your light and your wounds with compassion. In a world that glorifies busyness, cultivating awareness is an act of inner freedom because it frees you from cycles of stress, fear, and unconscious living. Awareness is not a technique to be practiced once and forgotten. It is the ground on which all spirituality grows. Without it, meditation becomes routine, affirmations become empty, and manifestation becomes forced. With it, even the smallest acts pausing before you speak, observing your emotion before it controls you, noticing your ego before it blinds you, become sacred tools that shift your reality. The truth is, self-awareness is not complicated, and that is precisely why it is so often missed. Yet for those who embrace it, the simple act of observing oneself without judgment is nothing less than the doorway to a new life. 6. Radical responsibility and accountability stabilize your field. Radical responsibility and accountability are the true foundations of stability in your spiritual field. Because when you fully own what you emit, without slipping into blame or excuses, you step into the role of conscious creator rather than passive reactor. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And this wisdom reminds you that every thought, every word, And every emotional frequency you radiate becomes the silent architect of your reality. If you allow resentment, fear, or doubt to dominate your inner space, life will mirror those vibrations back through difficult encounters and closed doors. But when you deliberately choose vibrational anchors like peace, gratitude, and faith, and you hold your state with consistency, the universe itself must align with that energy and reflect it back to you in the form of harmony, opportunity, and growth. This is not a mystical abstraction, but the practical essence of spirituality and the deepest mark of spiritual development, because true mastery lies not in controlling the outer world, but in stabilizing the inner one. Think about how easily you can lose your center in daily life. You may wake up calm and aligned, but one sharp comment, one unexpected problem, or one moment of comparison on social media can unravel your peace in seconds. That is the sign that you have allowed external chaos to dictate your vibration. Radical responsibility is the decision to say, "This is my field, and I alone decide the energy I hold." It is not about punishing yourself for setbacks or pretending challenges don't exist. It is about claiming your right to choose your response. In this way, accountability becomes empowerment, because you stop giving away your energy to circumstances and start shaping your life from a place of conscious strength. In the modern world, this truth is more relevant than ever. Social media, with its endless waves of envy, outrage, and distraction, can easily pull you into emotional storms if you do not root yourself in the anchors you have chosen. Yet when you decide to stabilize in compassion, authenticity, and resilience, you build a frequency that shields you from being swept away by negativity. This is where spirituality meets daily living. Not in escaping from traffic, stress, or conflict, but in walking through them with inner steadiness that cannot be shaken. The moment you refuse to let the outer world decide your vibration, you become free, because your peace, your strength, and your joy no longer depend on conditions that flow from your own alignment. Life is always responding, always mirroring, and when you hold your state consistently, it cannot help but reflect the essence you choose to embody. You may not control what comes to you, but you absolutely influence how it takes shape around you. That is why spiritual development is not about complexity, but about constancy, anchoring your field so firmly in your chosen vibration that reality itself reorganizes to meet it. Stability is not rigidity. It is the quiet power to stand steady while everything around you shifts, to radiate light even in darkness, and to remain whole even in the face of challenge. When you own your energy without blame, when you choose your anchors with intention, and when you hold your state no matter what, you transform from a seeker into a creator. And in that transformation, your true quantum shift begins. 7. The threshold before a shift feels like collapse. Don't misread it. The threshold before a true quantum shift often feels like collapse. But this collapse is not an ending. It is the clearing of space. When confusion, exhaustion, or despair flood your experience, you are not failing. You are standing in the fragile space where the old identity is disassembling so something new can take root. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And this awakening is precisely what is unfolding in the silence beneath your struggle. The field of life responds not when you strive harder, but when you stop forcing, doubting, and chasing, and instead allow yourself to inhabit the moment with intelligence and spiritual wisdom. This in-between stage has often been described as a hallway between timelines. It is dim, directionless, and uncomfortable, yet it is the most sacred part of transformation. In that hallway, the maps you once relied on no longer guide you, and the new map has not yet been drawn. You may feel lost, but this is exactly what allows new pathways to form. If you label it as failure, you lock yourself into the past. If you resist it, you slip back into the same patterns that once kept you small. By practicing detachment and releasing the urge to name every sensation as good or bad, right or wrong, you stop feeding the ego's need for complexity. Albert Einstein once reminded us, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. Simplicity is precisely the power of this hallway, though the ego resists it because simplicity strips away drama and control. Detachment in this context is not coldness or withdrawal, but the wise intelligence of your soul. It is the ability to feel deeply without clinging, to witness emotions without turning them into identity, to hold presence without being consumed by the story. This is an act of true spiritual intelligence, staying open while allowing what is old to fall apart. Instead of grasping for certainty, you breathe through uncertainty. Instead of retreating into fear, you lean into curiosity. These are small, practical acts, a slow, mindful walk, a warm cup of water held with attention, and a few minutes of conscious breathing. They may seem ordinary, but they are the anchors that stabilize your nervous system while reality reshapes itself. The collapse you feel is not punishment, but preparation. The fatigue, the despair, the disorientation are evidence that the old architecture of your life is loosening. Trust this threshold. Allow the hallway to be what it is, a passage, not a prison. Jung reminded us that there is no coming to consciousness without pain, and in this liminal space, you are being invited to expand consciousness, not retreat into fear. If you can hold stillness, if you can release the habit of labeling, if you can remain unattached to outcome, the quantum shift that once seemed distant will arrive quietly. The hallway will open into a new timeline, and you will realize that collapse was never destruction. It was the hidden beginning of awakening. 8. Practical posture. Tune. Don't push. Embody the new identity. Transformation does not arise from pushing harder or forcing yourself into a new identity, but from tuning your inner state until it resonates with the life you are meant to live. As Carl Jung said, "Who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes." This truth reflects the essence of spirituality and spiritual awakening. The shift is not about creating something from nothing, but about aligning with what already exists within you in another timeline. You don't have to conquer endless challenges or prove your worth through relentless effort. The real power lies in coherence, in breathing into the discomfort, holding your energy steady, and letting your being tune itself to the frequency of transformation. Your attention is like a laser, and wherever it is consistently directed, reality bends to meet it. Instead of scattering your focus on doubts, fears, or endless striving, you anchor it in the identity you are stepping into. This is the practice of embodying the phrase, "I am the shift." You walk, speak, and act as if the transformation has already taken place, because in truth, it already exists. Modern life encourages hustle and constant proving, but spiritual wisdom reveals that coherence, not force, is what makes the shift inevitable. Just as a radio tunes into a station without strain, your soul tunes into its destined reality when you hold alignment with calm determination. Discomfort becomes a sacred signal. Most people see discomfort as a barrier to escape or battle, but spirituality reframes it as a threshold, a portal of awakening. When you choose to breathe deeply and remain present, you stop running from yourself and instead allow your system to recalibrate to a higher vibration. In that moment, the discomfort is no longer your enemy, but your teacher. Holding your signal through discomfort shows the universe that you will not shrink back into the old timeline, and this unwavering presence becomes the very bridge into the new. Each time you practice this, you strengthen your capacity to stay aligned, and it becomes second nature to live as the shift itself. In a world overflowing with distractions, deadlines, and social pressures, the temptation to overexert is constant. Yet the most profound spiritual awakening comes when you resist the urge to force and instead embody the reality you know is already true. You reclaim your power by pausing, by centering, and by remembering that you are not becoming something new, but revealing what you have always been. Carl Jung's wisdom resonates here. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. By tuning instead of pushing, you bring the unconscious into light, and your life becomes a deliberate act of creation rather than a reaction to old patterns. Every time you feel the impulse to push, remind yourself that pushing is born of fear, while tuning is born of trust. You are not chasing after change. You are embodying an identity that already exists beyond the veil of doubt. Breathe into the unease. Hold your signal. Focus your attention like a laser, and act as if the shift is already yours. This is the spiritual path, not running, not proving, but living in coherence with your higher self. When you live this way, transformation stops being a distant goal and becomes an inevitable unfolding of who you truly are. And so, the truth about quantum shifting is not that it's complicated, but that it's far too simple for the ego to accept. Real transformation begins in the moment you release control and allow life to move through you. If this message spoke to your spirit, I invite you to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our upcoming insights into spiritual awakening and inner growth. Your journey has only just begun.